Sports news looking pretty good. Huh? The stock exchange is looking pretty good too. What? The weather's looking mighty fine. I might go for a. What's going on? Good God, Jesus! What? Now, hold on here. Now, wait a minute. What incarnation is going on in here?
Grr, I can explain.
Oh, can you now, Shin?
Yeah, these here are my boys.
Your boys?
Yeah, my boys.
Now, what in tarnation? No, wait a minute. What in the world? How exactly did that happen?
Well, you see, when I go around killing things like countries, chunks get blown off. And these two grew off of me. They're my little apples.
Oh, I see. So they're little murdering psychopaths like you?
Oh, yeah. Just like their daddy.
Do they do that thing you do?
You mean that thing? Oh, yeah. But not quite. You ready, juniors?
No, please, Daddy, no.
Hello, collectors! It's Steven here, squeezing out as much enthusiasm as possible to bring you a review of the SH MonsterArts Shin Godzilla, the second form and the third form set. A Bandai Premium Webshop exclusive, Jack and Diane are in scale with the fourth form and are expensive as hell. Initial pictures from Japan weren't that great, so does it warrant the nearly $120 price tag most US consumers will pay? You know what's coming next. Let's take a look to see whether or not they're worth adding into your collection. The way the review is going to break down is like my normal reviews, but both figures in each section. So we're going to look at Ben first for each section, then we're going to take a look at Jerry. Take note that I did my best to photograph them, especially Ben, but due to size, it was pretty hard. But I think I did a pretty good job. Ben is a very small figure, and the fact its sculpt is so well defined is actually kind of surprising. Lots of teeny tiny details that'll freak out everyone with trypophobia in a heartbeat, but the problem here, even more so with Jerry, would be the paint. The face on mine is dominated by the red paint with the Imperial-like lips, and unfortunately the eyes aren't exactly the best either, being almost on par with a movie Monster Series version in terms of quality, and why Tamashii Nations would want to do that, I have no idea. Something on mine, though, is that there are some scratches on the snoot of Ben here, so you want to be careful of that. Why this happened, I will touch on in Jerry's section. Now, when we move to the neck, you can see that there are some inconsistencies with the paint. The gills, or whatever they might be, where the blood came pouring out, the red paint, it's really just kind of there with little shading involved. However, if you look at the base of the neck, where there's some red, you can see little tan lines there. Skin, bones, whatever this may be, it's poking out. So it's clear that they could have added finer details at this size, but chose not to. Now, realistically speaking, the rest of the figure has some pretty solid shading of tan, green, brown, and colors like that. So that's nice, but if you look at the figure underneath, on mine at least, the paint kind of clumped up to give him something that looks like what he looks like. You figure that joke out. There's also a small issue with mold lines on this guy, and normally you'd say that's not really an issue with the figure at this size, but at this price point, yeah, you can't let some of those issues go. No shading on the toe claw paint, it's just kind of slapped on there, but if you look at the thighs, the red paint on the little divots will definitely creep you out if you don't like those tiny holes. Next up, we have the dorsal plates. A bit mixed here. Small, yes, but at the same time, the details are just kind of middle of the road. Not too much to write home about here. The base red for the dorsal plates isn't that bad, so there's that to compliment. They actually did this part really well. Last up, we have the tail. Long, veiny, and kind of orange. Yep, jokes to be made there. Now, something else to keep in mind here. Both figures have an awesome feature. Paint chipping. You saw me joke about this a little bit in the intro when there was a random zoom in. This happened a few times when I was handling the figure, which absolutely sucks. But I also can't identify where this came from, so it could be from inside a socket where some paint may have just dried up and it doesn't really matter, or it's near a joint and I just haven't popped that joint off yet, so maybe pieces grinding up against each other. Regardless, it's unacceptable at this price point. Now, Jerry, and holy hell, we're going south. If you pull back a bit and you look at it from a distance, it's okay, but up close, no. Paint scratches, stuck joints from paint, which you'll see in the next section, yeah. So, he's spinning here, and that's just prolonging the complaining and the entitlement comments from fanboys. So, let's go ahead and feed the trolls, eh? Okay. The head's been the main focus of issues from around the internet, with some in Japan having paint issues right out of the box because Bandai did not seal the figure properly, nor did they include protective plastic to prevent paint scrapes. Yeesh. Not that it matters because the paint also glued some joints in spots, and on mine, the back of the head has a scratch and a big old gloop right there on the eye. Yeah. Anyway, let's look at the mouth. And that is just plain old creepy. Once again, playing on those trypophobia fears. The figure has this weird green brushing on it nearly all over the entirety of the figure, but thankfully some details like the red in the neck are kept really well. Pretty stunning, actually. And as we move down the rest of the figure, the chest is just as nice, but take a look at the arms. We see the terrible shading attempts as if there was one even made. The rest of the figure, it's the same with the odd green brushing, fine red paint application, and an unbalance of the orange paint application. Not only does it just not look the best on the figure, very different from the prototype, but it's also not accurate to the source material, which is stupid because the sculpt is wonderful, much like the second and fourth forms. Yeah, once again, paint does not do the figure any favors. Now let's take a look at the dorsal plates. They're done pretty well in sculpt and somewhat in paint application. Not too much to say here, aside from the fact that you can see some of the paint scrapes here from when you move the figure around and parts touch each other. Horse pucky. Now the tail. Pretty standard with the vein running on it similar to Ben, with that really weird sherbet coloration, even up to the tip, which you can see the bones. Very cool, because once again, the sculpt detail is awesome, and it does include the face. But what's better than having that face is a small seam line running through it. Yeah. In sum, for its size, some of the issues you may say that they're nitpicking. However, Bandai charged a premium for this set when they in fact have charged less or the same for other figures of the same size and have delivered better in the same department. Okay, so Dumb here has some very weird articulation. Basically, what you're seeing here is what you're getting. Yeah, it does move, but let's take a look. So, jaw opens and closes. Effectively, it's a hinge. I mean, you can get the mouth to close and get it to open. That's it. So, next part, you think, okay, so the head attaches into the neck on a ball joint, right? No, actually, it does not. It attaches into the shoulders. So, what Bandai did here, there is this technically triple ball joint construction here in the body, and the neck is actually just a sleeve that goes over this, and it's not like, why would you do this? Like, this portion here, it can move. So it's clear at some point this was supposed to have more joints, or at least that's what it seems like to me. That's what it seems like to me, and that was completely abandoned for a sleeve. Yeah. So, yeah, the head is on a ball joint, so you can move it around. You can twist it and turn it. That's the moral of the story there. And then the neck, yeah, the neck does move around a little bit. It twists and it turns. Not a whole lot. And I misaligned that. Yeah, not a whole lot. Nothing to really write home about, but it can move. So, if you want to get some movement out of it, you can. You can get it to look all creepy. Okay, anyway, so we have these little arms, or not arms. They kind of move. I think they're supposed to move. I don't know. Again, you know, what you're seeing here, that's what you're getting. Yeah, dropping them. They feel like they're on ball joints. And then you have the waist joint, which is an ab crunch. Twist it, turn it around. Again, ball joint. Whoops. Yeah. So you can get a little squat movement out of there. So you can kind of get a unique pose. So we'll pop the tail back on. Spoiler, tail's a ball joint. Yeah, so you can get them to sort of crouch over like that, which is all fine and dandy. Then we have the hips. They're on ball joints. So you can move the legs around. We have knees. I believe these would technically be on ball joints. I'm not sure. They haven't popped off yet. We have whatever the hell this would be right here. So like shin cuts. Barbell style ball joints. So you can spin those around a little bit. We have ankle ball joints. They don't really do too much. Then we have the tail, which is the best part of the articulation because you can get it in all sorts of different poses and shapes and whatnot, which is really cool. So the second form, basically the first MonsterArts Zero figure. There is articulation, of course. I just showed you a whole bunch of joints. But realistically speaking, you're not going to get too many poses out of this little dude. Dumber, however, has much better articulation, but it's still kind of weird, and it doesn't really, I don't know, could be a little bit better. So what do we got going on here? Weird. Jaws on a hinge, opens and closes. This portion of the head is on a ball joint. So you can get it to look up, and you can get it to look down. Turn it from side to side. And I'll show it to you with proof, maybe. It disconnected. Okay, there we go. Oh, all right. So that is wonderful. The beauty of live recording, ladies and gentlemen. So here we have another quality control issue. All right, let's see if we can focus in on that. Okay, so that was stuck together with paint. That's awesome. But yes, as you can see here, the top of the head is on a ball joint, and the lower portion is attached on a ball joint too. So I'm going to try and fix this now, maybe. And we are now back to your regularly scheduled programming. So the top of the head is on a ball joint, and this lower section here is on a ball joint too. So you can see them moving around. So this way you can move the head up and down as you would like. Now that all plugs into this portion of the neck on a ball joint. So you can move it around from side to side. Then this portion of the neck plugs into this portion of the neck on a ball joint. So you can move that around even more. And you can get Shin to look around kind of like a snake. Or a stupid dog of some kind. Get them to look real weird. Yeah, and depending on how you move the joints in the head around, you can give them a nice overbite there. But anyway, for the shoulders, we have ball joints. So he can move his teeny tiny little hands around at the arms. Not too much there. These are very flexible, which isn't necessarily a good thing. You might damage those. But anyway, we have a joint here near the chest area, which is a ball joint. So you can get Shin to look all the way up like he's roaring, kind of like he did when he was first revealed or first evolved into this form, or digivolved, or whatever, evolved. So that's pretty cool. So you can get him to bend down about that far, which is neat. Then we have a waist joint, ball joint. So when you combine everything together, you get some really weird poses out of that. Yeah, that's something you don't want to see coming at you at 3 o'clock in the morning. This actually got very, very loose after I was fiddling around with it. It was not like this during the unboxing video. So keep note that this may get loose on you over time. Then we have ball jointed hips, which is the standard for a Godzilla figure. Knees. I would assume ball joint with hinge functionality somewhere in there, because sometimes with SH MonsterArts Godzillas, you'll have either a ball joint or a swivel that plugs up somewhere in here and down here, and then it has a hinge joint. So something like that might be going on here, but that's what you get. You get a swivel movement and you get a hinge movement. So that might be a ball joint swivel hinge combo. Who knows? But that's what the movement you get. And then we get ankle movement here. That is definitely on a ball joint because you can rock it from side to side like that. That a ball joint definitely would give you. Now we have probably one of the best SH MonsterArts tails. And the reason for that is just look at this thing. It's kind of like the design of the 2000 Millennium tail. Yeah. The concept behind it anyway, where you're going to have really extreme movement, but none of the drawbacks. It's not going to fall over. It's not going to lose its tightness. It doesn't feel like it anyway. And you can get some really insane bends. Every once in a while, something will pop off, but look at that. That is such fluid movement there. That's so awesome. That's so cool. I really love the tail. I really love the tail. So the articulation on the third form, it's good. I mean, overall, all things considered, it's good, including the quality control issue. Yeah, that's amazing. But I do feel sort of like maybe there's something else that could be done. I can't quite put my finger on it, but for all intents and purposes, it's good, but I just feel like that there's something else that could have been added that really could have made this better in terms of articulation. But anyway, if you know what you're doing for the articulation, you're going to be able to get it into a really nice pose, and chances are, once you do, you're going to be able to keep it in that pose for some time. And now your size comparison, and as you can see, they are very small. If you have some free spot on your shelf, trust me, you're going to be able to fit these two on it. So, buy now, skip, or no deal probably, because it's Shin Godzilla, and they don't drop in price because people just love Anno. Everything about these two is just disappointing except for the paint application on Bert, which is better than Ernie, and Ernie has some pretty good articulation. For the price point, even in yen if you live in Japan, these two don't really feel like a value at all, and it's not something that US collectors only are complaining about. People in Japan have repainted theirs just after getting it. Now, let me be clear. I've been fiddling with them like crazy since I've opened them, and posing Ernie more and more. I've worked out the joints and can get him into some fun poses, and they can display nicely. They're great display pieces. But remember, this is a product review, not a hug box. Do they have their pros? Oh, absolutely, and I covered them. We have an in-scale Shin Godzilla Evolution line in action figure format. However, for the price, die-hard collectors probably already own this figure, and they won't be swayed one way or the other. But if you're on the fence, you might want to really watch the market to see if maybe you can find a deal right around when this review goes live. Otherwise, if you want to get this set, go in with lower expectations and you'll be satisfied. Again, regardless of flaws, these add to the shelf and increase the fourth form's display presence, but you have to be hiding your head somewhere if you believe that these figures are flawless. They do have some serious drawbacks. Well, that's it for this video, but that doesn't mean you need to close out just yet. There are a few other videos that just popped up on your screen, so go ahead and click on those to watch some more of my videos, and then there's the description to check out, where I've linked to where you can get this figure or others like it, and the credits to see how this video was made, so be sure to check that out. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, and subscribe. I love hearing from you. Thanks for watching, collectors, and I'll catch ya in the next video.